Okay. All right, Stuart, it looks like it's streaming.
Okay, everybody. Okay, welcome to Compassion and Fatigue Clinic here today with Bill Sparks. First, I'm going to read the land acknowledgement, and then I'm going to pass it over to Bill. We acknowledge the land we are meeting on is traditional territory of many nations, including Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa and Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples are now home to many diverse First Nations, including Inuit, Métis people. Also, we acknowledge that Toronto was covered by Treaty 13 of the Mississaugas of the Credit. And now I'm going to pass it over to Bill. Please welcome today, and please could you introduce yourself?
Okay, thank you, Stuart. And thank you, Marie and Gatehouse, for setting this all up. Okay, we're just going to go to a PowerPoint here. That's great. Okay, thank you. Okay, so my name is Bill Sparks, and I do compassion fatigue seminars for social service agencies and for international development organizations. And I've been doing that for about 10 years. I probably have a slide that'll tell a little bit more about myself and my own background in trauma and in counseling. I have a master's degree in social work, and I'm a certified member of the Academy of Acute Traumatic Stress from the American Academy of Traumatic Stress. So I have a good background in this, but I really started to get into compassion fatigue and trauma work only about 15 years ago. And some of that just coming to the realization that I was not really looking at myself and my own capacity for burnout and looking at secondary traumatic stresses and primary stresses throughout my life. So it's also a journey and a continuing journey for me. I'm now well into my 70s, but that journey still continues. So as you can see here, in terms of stress and facilitation with abuse survivors, here's the great quote from Naomi Remen. The expectation that we can be immersed in suffering and loss daily and not be touched by it is as unrealistic as expecting to be able to walk through water without getting wet. Naomi is absolutely right. Okay, we're just gonna.
Might have to click.
Okay.
Work if not, I'll restart.
Okay, we're just gonna find out how to move to the next slide here.
Just
Sorry.
something else. There you
it is.
go.
I
Got it. There you go.
Okay, good. So just in terms of stress here and suicide, Gila Drew Patterson is a great youth counselor, did a lot of youth prevention work in suicide prevention. And she ended her life, 22 hours of bright sunshine, highly respected counselor at Nunavut. No one saw her death coming. She was stylish and she was athletic. She sat on committees with colleagues, worked with youth groups, counseled teens, helped young folks cope with trauma and survival after family or friends' tragedies. Surrounded by people, she was alone. Bathed in sunlight, she was in the darkest of places. She did not survive. We don't want to be like that. We want to learn from Gila. We never want to be alone. We want to be communicating. We never want to be practicing self-isolation. So just introductions, you know a little bit about me. I don't know much about you. If you want to say anything in the chat, you can do that. That's not a requirement. But we are all really in this together. We're all on a journey. So I pretend that I know an awful lot, and sometimes I do, but your contributions can be just as much and sometimes more. And I just want to look at hopes and fears for the day, anything that you would like to explore, and you can put that in the chat. And I'm just going to go over our agenda and we'll see if anything is missing here. We have about 1 hour to go through stuff here. I want to establish a safety contract with you. Whatever happens should happen. Share what's comfortable, be respectful, have a low impact disclosure. You can talk a little bit about yourself in the chat if you want, but we don't have a long time, so we can't do any in-depth stuff. What's personal stays in this broadcast, okay? Any policy that we talk about stays in the agency. We'll do a little bit of mindfulness and grounding just to make sure we know how to get out of stress if we're suffering from that. The intros we've already done. I'll outline the session. We're going to look at the definitions of stress and compassion fatigue and burnout, secondary traumatic stress, primary traumatic stress, trauma exposed response, and recognition of that, prevention, reduction, resiliency, early intervention. And if we have some time, we'll discuss about that. We'll look at what distresses us. Okay, and I've got a slide on that. And I've got some handouts that we can mail to each other. And you have worksheets that you can work on if you wish to download them and work on those for your own journey. And I'm going to point you out to some self-assessment, fatigue, and compassion satisfaction scales. So you can look at your own scale in terms of secondary traumatic stress, burnout, and also compassion satisfaction. And I'll give you some examples of my own triggers throughout the years. And then some resiliency recommendations for food, kinds of things that we should be eating and not bringing ourselves getting fatigued on. And I'll give you a self-care construction plan that you can begin to work on. I have two of them, one's short, one's long, and some effective self-care tips. And then to look at what we can do beyond our own individual self-care, what is good in agency policy and development, and talk a little bit about vicarious resilience, because often we become more resilient and able to bounce better after working with our clients and seeing their resilience. And then we'll just wrap it up and see if there's anything that we've missed and that if there's any need to follow up. So that's my agenda for the next hour. Is that okay? There may be some parking lot items that we don't get to, and we can put that in the chat too. So I'm not hearing any objections. So I got two in the chat. Marie, can I see the chat? Yeah. Let's click on the chat, right? Okay, just want to look at it. Okay, so if anybody puts any questions up, I'll click on the chat and we'll see it. Okay, thanks. Great. There we go. Okay, so we're going to examine the symptoms of compassion fatigue and burnout, post-traumatic stress, secondary traumatic stress, and vicarious traumatization in facilitators and professional helpers and staff and volunteers and students, all with a view to prevention, recognition, and treatment. Look at examples of self-care and organizational policy, and we'll get a chance to talk about them if we have some time. And nothing I'm going to say today is new. You can see all the different sources that I've drawn on. Most of them are public. They're in Google. They're online. There's a couple that are proprietary, so I won't use that information. But if you go to the websites at the end of this presentation, you can call up their websites and you can see what's free and available to everybody and what they want to be able to charge for any downloads. Most of it is online and free. Just a safety contract here. So our safety is first. So we talked about confidential material staying in the room or in the recording. Low impact disclosure versus sliming. Sliming is accidental critical incident stress debriefing. So this is when you have your friend that you haven't seen, they've been through a traumatic incident, and you say, oh, Jane, how are you doing? And you're doing this in the coffee room or at the water cooler. And it's the first time Jane has asked anybody anything about that. And 2 hours later, Jane is feeling a lot better because she's had a chance to talk about it, but you're a complete wreck. You say, oh my God, if that happened to me, I don't know what I would be doing. So you've just been accidentally slimed, accidentally set up a critical incident stress debriefing. So we're not able to do that today. Do what you need to do. If you need to get up and leave the computer or walk around, get some fresh air, breathe, do some grounding exercises, you can do that. Some of the grounding exercises that I recommend: in the room where you are, what's the most colorful object? Just that will help bring you back. And we're going to do a relaxation exercise, and that is just where you're sitting, tighten your toes right now, tighten your fingers right now, put your hands right up above your head, Okay. And now at the count of 3, we're going to breathe in, and at 3, we're going to breathe out. And so, and at 3, you're going to loosen your fingers, you're going to loosen your toes, relax your arm, and breathe out. 1, 2, 3. If you need to do that, go ahead, no problem at all. Community is immunity. So if you are feeling stressed or triggered from any of these things, you need to talk to somebody about it. So do you have a buddy? Do you have somebody that we can contact? And I have resources at the end of this presentation also that are available that you can contact. So trauma. So as you know, trauma can be a single event. It can be an assault. It could be a psychological intimidation. It could be a microaggression or macroaggression, single. It could also be prolonged. It could be part of a family abuse. It could be a peer group and peer abuse, peer trauma. It can also be gender related. And we're seeing the shadow pandemic during COVID, sexually based violence in families, gender based. It can also, it can be at home, it can also be at workplace exposure. So we can be enduring these things at our workplaces. It can also be historical, it can be colonized. First Nations in Toronto and around Ontario and Canada often talk about 7 generations of trauma, ongoing structural violence, the ongoing racism. This last 2 years, we've had the dramatic discovery of all the residential graves, which have brought up a re-traumatization for people and a re-realization. And even old white settlers like myself, and said, oh my goodness, I knew this was happening in the back of my brain, but here it is, stark, you can't avoid it. So colonization of this land. The gatehouse building, I don't know if you know the history of this building, but this was the gatehouse to the Lakeshore Psychiatric Hospital. And a lot of trauma went on in that hospital. So you're in a very good location here to deal with trauma and de-traumatizing. And then war. Unfortunately, we're seeing examples of that around the world. And we have a terrible example right now in the Ukraine. And all the trauma and refugees that are coming out of that. So trauma in the brain. So just to remind you, we are hardwired to deal with stress, to deal with trauma. And that usually takes the form of fighting or fleeing or freezing. So in the old days, saber-toothed tiger coming right at us. What do? We have to choose fight, flight, or freeze. Okay? And we remember that next time when we see a saber-toothed tiger and we say, okay, that worked. I'm going to do that again. That becomes part of our short-term memory. So it's a loop. We get stressed, we get traumatized, we have a response that we've learned, it comes back up, we use that response. Problem occurs when we don't put it into our frontal cortex and think about it, then we begin to associate all traumas with that responses or all cats with that responses. So maybe it's not a saber-toothed tiger, maybe it's our neighbor's tabby cat, but we have it for a second, we have an immediate response, we're stuck in that short-term loop, and maybe we don't get out of it. We react to the cat that way and we try and hurt the cat. So all of those things are trauma in the brain. Who can be traumatized? Individuals, entire communities or villages can be traumatized. We've seen natural disasters and floods. We have cultures that are traumatized. We have white settlers that have invaded Canada and driven out First Nations cultures and traumatized them onto reserves. We have other examples around the world of cultures in clash. Service providers, ourselves, we can be traumatized. And then entire departments or institutions or organizations, they can all be affected. They can be shut down, they can become paralyzed. We can have layoffs, we can have whole agencies closing. So all of those things are traumatizations. And just some definitions here, we'll look at acute stress disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, burnout, secondary traumatic stress or vicarious traumatization, compassion fatigue, and trauma-exposed response. So acute stress disorder occurs immediately, usually within 2 days of the trauma, and does not last for more than 4 weeks. So it's not reoccurring. It usually resolves itself in some manner. So for stress for ourselves as abuse survivor facilitators, so the clients that we care for and are about, their journeys often require complex, sometimes continuous care, and frequently require services from different practitioners in multiple settings. They have multiple chronic conditions, sometimes hospitalizations, limitations on their ability to perform daily functions due to physical, mental, and psychosocial challenges. So these can be ongoing and complex. Adult survivors' stresses are triggers of trauma. You like to move them to insights, but even becoming insightful about those can be traumatizing and require support. Moving from isolation into inclusion, so that can be a traumatic experience for people who have learned out of fear to adapt to isolation. Anger and depression, the two sides going together, can be an example of our expression of stress. Our inner child and trying to rediscover our inner child, just the act of trying to discover that after that inner child may have been brutalized is stressful. It can be traumatizing. Reestablishing healthy boundaries, having to relearn all of those things if we've learned to live in isolation. Coming to grips with our own sexuality. Loss and grief of family members or friends, those are all stresses. Addictions, what that's doing to our body and to our mind, and then the ability to try and recover from that is also stressful. Then moving from trauma to resiliency is a stressful act in itself. And then moving from flashbacks and remembering things that suddenly pop up about trauma, moving that into grounding and using the frontal cortex. All of those things are stresses. They all put stress on our mind and our body. So adult survivor growth also are stresses, issues, perceptions, and belief systems, our actions and reflections, our ability to look at ourselves and other people, moving meditations. These are all growth ways in which we grow. Meditation and imagery, moving beyond stuckness and getting stuck in that short-term loop and beginning to develop a path for ourselves. Creating the sacred path, that's often in faith-based organizations, is survivor growth. And then transformation. All of these things are goals in survivor growth. Partner support stresses. So they can be a catalyst for surfacing of past traumas. This process of surfacing can be both profoundly transformational and healing, but it can also be expressed through deep struggles, which are also stressful. And then working in groups, moving out of isolation into inclusion, creating positive coping skills and the importance of self-care, developing and maintaining healthy and safe relationships, reestablishing boundaries, dealing with emotions and anger, looking at triggers and becoming grounded from them, looking at life skills and community resources, moving forward, goals and aspirations. Those are all excellent things. They are all stressful acts in themselves. Okay? And then some of the gatehouse things that you do. So here and other places like Gatehouse, the investigation, okay, puts stress on the peer person and the survivor. Testimony, sometimes court testimony, following up meetings, court preparation, case conferences, additional interviews. Those are all survivor stresses. And then parental stresses. Okay? So the parent may be a supportive person here, and you're dealing with an abuse which has happened. So fears, misinformation, healing needs after disclosure. So a healing of the family after disclosure. Child survivor stresses. You maybe have heard this before. I don't want to talk. I have a secret. I feel worried. I would like a buddy. I feel alone and scared. I feel ashamed. Those are all the stresses that child survivors feel. Then we can add more stresses here, the personal stress, getting lost in the work and not making enough time to have fun, Teamwork stress, so trying to cope with the trauma, violence, and death of other suffering that people in our team serves and face when it rubs off on us, including co-workers' vicarious traumatizations. Min stress, so we get the endless reports and paperwork and trying to keep up with that. And sometimes we have added responsibilities of management. So just for yourself, just take a second while I continue on and write down what stresses you at work. You can type it in the chat and share if you want. You don't have to, but just think about some of the things that that stresses you at work. Some of the above things can give you some ideas of what stresses you specifically. Let's take a look at what is post-traumatic stress disorder. So it's characterized by aversive anxiety-related experiences, behaviors, psychological responses that develop after exposure, psychologically traumatic events, sometimes months after. It features for longer than 30 days. It has 3 subforms: acute, chronic, and delayed onset. We'll look at those a little bit later on. Here's an example of Jim Orbinski, doctor in Rwanda, professor of medicine. He witnessed the genocide in Rwanda, and it took him 18 months to get out of his short-term memory loop, wandered in confusion. He says, I lost my questions. And he is still struggling to understand and regain his foothold. I struggle now when I confront memories of that time, memories that are no longer unspeakable, but still unbearable. So all of these things can last, and that's post-traumatic stress disorder. When you mention Rwanda to Jim, you can see his face change. Burnout, a state of physical and mental exhaustion caused by excessive and prolonged stress. It reduces productivity, motivation, and energy. Burnout often creeps up on us. It's a slow thing. So usually we burn out at work, where we can't get out from under. We're always working, we're always worried, and it just builds up and builds up. So feelings of hopelessness, detachment, isolation, cynicism, resentfulness, and irritability. Here's survivor work. Okay? So it's a problem for most people working in the caring professions, but our work sometimes goes unrecognized by coworkers, see it as necessary, but not as the real work of the helping professions, which is helping people get back better quickly and back to productive, happy lives. Abuse survivor work is often the opposite. The work is often long-term, there's no quick, simple solution. Problems are many and at once. One crisis can be replaced by another. Suffering can be seen more common than recovery. Every small success has to be cherished or we won't last. Vicarious trauma or STS disorders, it's the negative effects of secondary exposure to trauma. The symptoms are the same as primary trauma: avoid, intrude, and hyperarousal. So Charles Figley defines compassion fatigue in 1995. He says it's a deep erosion of our compassion, of our ability to tolerate strong emotions and difficult stories in others. So we turn off, we react, we do different things, we don't continue. Bestam says compassion fatigue breaks into 2 parts. The first concerns things such as exhaustion, frustration, anger, depression, typical of burnout. Then there's secondary traumatic stress, negative feeling driven by fear and work-related trauma. Important to remember that some trauma at work can be direct or primary. In other cases, work-related trauma can be a combination of both primary and secondary trauma. Burnout usually accumulates slow. Secondary traumatic stress can happen fast. We see an event or we're traumatized by an event, we become paralyzed or we react to that event. Trauma exposure response. So from Health Canada, the experience of bearing witness to atrocities that are committed human against human, the result of absorbing the sight, smell, sound, touch, and feel of the stories told in detail by survivors who are searching for a way to release their own pain. So often when we're dealing with abuse survivors, we will hear that pain. Often if we are a peer support counselor and we have been through similar experiences ourselves, we have to be aware of our own pain and any trauma it's causing us. So compassion fatigue is a disorder that affects those who do their work well. We don't get vicarious trauma because we screwed up. We get it because we care, as Francois Mathieu says. So voices from the field, the most vulnerable group to vicarious traumatization and secondary traumatic stress are those dealing with traumatized children. So often as adults, we want to protect children. We want to see them grow and thrive and be happy. And when they are traumatized, it hurts us, even if we ourselves have not been traumatized in the past. So BESTOM has an excellent test, which Maria will send out to you afterwards. It's the ProQOL, Professional Quality of Life Test. And there's two comparts to it, compassion, satisfaction. So we often forget that we get a lot of satisfaction out of the work that we do. We are here because we want to help others, and we are able to help others. And in that journey, we also help them grow ourselves. So a lot of satisfaction, but we can also suffer fatigue. We can suffer burnout, or we can suffer secondary trauma. Sometimes they can go together. One can add on top of the other. They can be multiple exposures. So compassion fatigue consists of a buildup from prior trauma as a young person, or traumatic grief and loss of a friend, a relative, a parent, a sibling, a child. Primary exposure to trauma, we could be attacked, we could be hurt physically or emotionally. Secondary trauma, we could witness this, and it hurts just to see it. It can also be systems failure. We can have entire families that collapse. We can have peer groups that hurt us or become dysfunctional and are all arrested by the police. All those things can happen. And we can also have work failure. Entire agencies can be affected by COVID and shut down. Other traumatizations can occur. Adding on to that, we can have the slow increase of burnout. All of those things become part of adding up in all those circles to compassion fatigue. And Beth has broken that out to our work environment, our client environment, our personal environment. You see the chart there of compassion satisfaction and compassion fatigue. So that's an excellent self-assessment tool there. And I've got that on a document that Marie can send out, but you can also Google that, and you can actually do that test online, and they'll send you the results. What we're looking for is a balanced work life. And here's a nice wheel from Angie Panos. The wheel consists of self-care and work, intimate partner and family relationships, friends and social life, financial aspects, health and wellness, body image, spiritual aspects, community service. You can see they're all sections of the wheel. The goal here is that we have a balanced volume in each one of those sections so that we have a balanced wheel. Our whole life is balanced. And you can rate how you're doing from 0 to 10 in any of those things. And you can see how much of your wheel is balanced or how much is wonky. So we talked about 3 categories or clusters associated with traumatic stress and secondary traumatic stress: intrusion, avoidance, and hypervigilance. So intrusion is reliving the event through recurring nightmares, flashbacks, other intrusive images that pop into our head. People who experience PTS or STS may also have extreme emotional or physical reactions, such as uncontrollable shaking, chills, or heart palpitations, or panic when faced with reminders of the event. So it's interesting. I was walking along at the corner of Young and College about 10 years ago, I heard this crash, bang, boom. I moved to the side of the building and I looked down Yonge Street, fully expecting to see the Rhodesian Air Force dropping bombs on the Zimbabwe African People's Union refugee camp north of Lusaka, Zambia. Instead, I see 2 cars, smoking radiator, 2 guys shouting at each other, hubcap, rolling down the street. I say, oh, I'm in Toronto. But just for a moment, I flashed all the way back to Zambia. Avoidance. So we're avoiding any reminders of the event, including places, people, thoughts, or other activities associated with the trauma. People who experience these stresses become emotionally numb, withdrawn from friends and family, lose interest in everyday activities. So you can see that withdrawal. Hypervigilance. This is your always on radar alert, being on guard or hyper-aroused at all times. Irritability, sudden anger, difficulty sleeping, lack of concentration, being overly alert or easily startled. So you're always looking at what's coming next, what's coming next. So all of those things, we need some self-care strategies. So stress and trauma reduction, they include self-care strategies and recognition of signs and symptoms, support and coping mechanisms. So this is a little chart here of coping strategies inventory that Cheryl Regier and Ted Boper created when Cheryl was the Dean of Social Work at University of Toronto. She's now the Vice President Provost of Student Services. And the first part of this chart here is what do you believe would help reduce stress? And you can see 1 to 14 there. Some good ideas: time with family, vacation, time off, movies, TV, hobbies, exercise, stress management training for individuals, stress management training for the team, planning trauma programs for clients, developing self-care plans, developing a team care plan, case disclosures with colleagues, case disclosures with management, regular supervision, supervision specifically related to trauma work. Okay, pretty good stuff. The second part here takes those categories, expands them a bit and says, do you do them? And of course, the social workers, you know, when they came to what they thought would work, their beliefs, they were up in the 3s and 4s in that chart. But when they actually did them, they were down in the 0s or 1s or 2s. So we actually know ourselves quite often what reduces our own stress. Our body tells us that, but we just don't take time to do it. And we get ourselves into trouble. So self-care, just to take a little look at my development and understanding, and a little chart that I often use that's helpful. So my process reflection here is a chart that has the time, the event, the culture response, immediate culture around, my own self-response, organizational response for where I was working, and my learning. What did I learn from all of this? So in 1972, terribly, I had a 14-year-old girl who bled to death in the front seat of my Land Rover. Myself, the station nurse who wasn't rated to do cesareans, the girl, 14-year-old girl herself, and her grandmother. And while she was pregnant, she was expecting, and she needed a cesarean section. You could think in Canada, that would be easily obtained. We would have hospitals, we would have clinics. The culture response to that death, we didn't get her to the hospital in time. She passed away. Culture, death is a part of life. And it sure is true in Zambia in 1972. Self-response. My response was numbness, and then very slowly, it took about 3 years, slowly I got angry, and then I began to say, this is not acceptable. What do we do about it? So it really took me about 10 years to say, how do we stop this? How do we overcome this? What's the plan? The organizational response, I was overseas with a good NGO. They said, death is a part of life. You will see death. Okay, good orientation, but what do you do about it? Well, they didn't tell us that. Then my personal learning, after several years, my personal value system will eventually prevail. I came back to, this is wrong. What can we do about this? 1976, I have a psychiatric outpatient who ends her life. The cultural response is the hospital. It's a psychiatric hospital. Folks say this is a danger for all at-risk mental health clients. It can happen. My own self-response is, okay, how do we reduce or prevent this? The organizational response, there's a psychiatric team debriefing, met every week. We discussed this person's case. The team supported themselves, but it was a temporary community. We didn't have ongoing meetings. We didn't talk about how to improve things. And generally speaking, the policy of the hospital was defensive. We did everything we could. This is going to happen. But the learning for myself, community is important. It's important to talk about these things. And for the future learning here was hidden. We didn't look at these. We need to reveal these things and talk about them. What can we do? So way back in 1986, I have a staff member that's murdered. This is in another city. We have from the culture, city is tragedy. It's on the news. There's outrage. There's blame. My own personal response. First of all, I knew this person, so I mourn. I'm sad. I cry. This should not have happened. And then, what organizational factors do we need to reduce or prevent this? I found myself in a position of leadership. I was the director of training for this organization, so I could convene things. So the organizational response here, many meetings. We had an organizational staff conference that put this on the table. This is one of our staff that has been murdered. What do we need to do? What care do we have for ourselves? What do we need to do in terms of organizational change and policy development? And then advocate inside and outside for those changes. So the learning here for me was that organizational change is possible. Power, leadership positions are needed to affect this, and you have to have continuous advocacy in order to continually improve things. So that was my own journey in trauma. And I want to suggest that if I hadn't experienced these things up here in 1972, I probably wouldn't have got down to organizational change years and years later. So Marie will send out a worksheet at the end of this, and you can fill that out yourself around those events and cultural response and your response and organizational response and self-learning. My caution to you is that if you start to fill it out and your heart starts to beat fast, or your palms start to sweat, or your forehead starts to sweat, stop, take a breather. If you come back and try it again and it's still happening, it's time for you to consult your health practitioner, okay, because you're caught in that trauma loop, as many of us are. So you can list it on a worksheet for self-processing or referral. Just some examples of good food too. So often we eat the wrong food. The food can add to our depression and our burnout and our fatigue. So good here for lunch, for examples: salad, beets, chickpeas, lettuces, spinach, carrots. These are high things in terms of micronutrients, lots of vitamins, lots of minerals. Some carbs is okay, not too much, maybe a little bit of potato salad, some croutons, some hummus. But take it easy on the heavy carbs, like pad thai, hot meals, breads. And then our drinks, fruit juices, if you're not allergic to them, that supply more vitamins and minerals. So those are foods that we can use to increase our resiliency. So just as sort of a mid-level check-in here, is everybody doing okay? Type that in the chat if you want. I'm going to assume you're okay. We all know what time it is, what the date is, the place where you are. Look around in your room. What's the brightest object in your room? If you need to do a relaxation stretch, do that. Remember those food tips for later on. So self-care strategies. Remember, stress and trauma reduction. Oh, we've got a person in the chat here. Let's just see how they're doing. Okay, can anybody see the messages? I can see the messages here, but all I can see is your message, Stuart.
Maybe we can just close this here as well. Might help people.
Yeah. Okay.
Better.
Okay. So I'm going to minimize it. And if anybody puts stuff in the chat, I should get an alert that you've put something in. Okay. And I've got one in the chat now. Let's just see. Thank you. It's working wonderful. Okay, great. Thanks. Okay, so we want to look at recognition of signs and symptoms and support and coping strategies. Down here to do that. Okay, so self-care plans usually are built around 8, 8, and 8. So 8 hours. So if you look at a 24-hour day here, so we have 8 hours of work, 8 hours of fun and family social life, 8 hours of sleep. So we want to establish those as very firm boundaries and trying not to have 12-hour work days and 6 hours of sleep or 5 hours of sleep. And we want to be able to have those balanced. If we're going to do any exercises, we want to do that before 8 p.m. After 8 p.m., our endorphins get going and we're going to have a hard time sleeping. We want to have social support. We want to have friends, community, peers we can talk to. We don't want to be isolated. We want to eat healthy, nutritious foods, like I pointed out. We want to eat breakfast like a king. We want to eat lunch like a prince. And we want to eat dinner like a poor person, like a pauper. We often get it wrong, don't we? We run through breakfast with a cup of coffee going out the door. Sometimes we don't even stop for lunch. We'll eat lunch at our desk, which is a bad thing to do. And then we have a big meal at the end of the day, dinner. And we're really tired out. We also want to be able to break during the day. In the morning, have a morning break. In the afternoon, have an afternoon break. Those breaks become important for recharging. So if you look at facilitation and self-care, all the micro and meso or medium terms or big macro strategies in the world won't help if we're too tired to implement them. So to prevent burnout, you want to identify the things in your life that relax you, nurture you, refresh you. Things as small as doing crossword puzzles or listening to music, or as large as spending regular periods of time in nature. You want to write them down. Keep them in your routine. And do not let them be eroded or replaced by a growing workload. So the trick is to identify the things that work for you, that are particular counterweights for you on stress. And there's a little chart there that Marie can send out. You can also see it here and use it on the PowerPoint, which it should be available to download for everybody too. It's being recorded. But the things that relax you, the things that nurture you, the things that refresh you. If you've got any ideas, you can type those in the chat too. Then we have a big self-care inventory here of tips. And this is adapted from Karen Stackneen and Lorianne Perlman. These are two of the co-creators of the term vicarious traumatization. And it's also been incorporated into the University of Buffalo School of Social Work Self-Care Starter Kit with Lisa Butler. And you can see the domains here that they're going to develop checklists on. I've got those checklists in a minute. Physical self-care, psychological self-care, emotional self-care, spiritual self-care, relationship self-care, workplace or professional self-care, and an overall balance. And you can see the checklist here, physical self-care. You've got items. Now you can actually rate yourself on these. So check what you are doing already, circle what you want to do or do more of. You can see the places you can check. Psychological self-care, there's a checklist. Emotional self-care, there's a checklist. You see all of those good things. Spiritual self-care, some of you are faith-based folks. Some of you are transcendental and yoga and meditation. Recognize some of these things. I did a compassion fatigue seminar once for an immigration agency. And part of the end of the workshop, everybody brought their yoga mats. They had already integrated that into the self-care of the agency. All the staff all the volunteers, all the students, they all had yoga mats. And they spent 45 minutes at the end of the day practicing yoga and stretching and doing all the yoga exercises. Wonderful stuff. And that was part of the routine for the agency. Relationship self-care, a good checklist here for your companions and your work folks. And professional self-care. Okay, so just let's take a look at this one. Take a break during the workday, for example, lunch. I like morning breaks and afternoon breaks too. Take time to chat with coworkers. Make quiet time to complete tasks. Identify projects or tasks that are exciting and rewarding. Set limits with clients and colleagues. Balance your caseload so that no one day or part of the day is too much. Arrange workspace so it is comfortable and comforting. Get regular supervision or consultation. Negotiate for my needs, benefits, pay raises. Have a peer support group. And if relevant, develop a non-trauma area of professional interest. If you're working in a trauma agency, what other part of professional interest would you like to develop as a balance? So all of those things are good things to remember and to be able to use at work. So the overall balance here, we're striving for that 8, 8, and 8. Work, family relationships, play, and rest. Françoise Mathieu has some great tips here. So she says, take stock regularly. So do that protocol test or do other tests. What's on your plate? How heavy is it? What are you carrying? What's getting you down? What do you love? What's good? What helps keep you going? Start a self-care idea collection. So what are the things that work for you that make you feel resilient? At Humber, next door to the Gatehouse in the social science department, they have little recipe cards. And when you think of something that helps keep you restored or keeps you going, write it down on a card. Just use it as a recipe and carry it around with you. Put it in a little recipe box at home so you don't forget them. Those things that work for you, that are de-stressors, that are resiliency uppers. Find time for yourself every day. Rebalance your workload. Delegate. Learn to ask for help at home and work. Have a transition from work to home. So that's important. If when you get back to work, we'll talk about at work. It's at home too. But when you are leaving work, can you leave work emotionally? How do you do that? What emotional transition do you provide on the way home so that when you arrive, your brain is still not at work? What do you do to relax? Do you listen to music? If you're riding on the TTC and jostling and crowded, can you find a podcast? Can you find music? Can you find things that create calm in the midst of all of that chaos? What's your transition from work to home? And then learn to say no or yes more often. To say no when you're overloaded. Say yes to the things that restore you. And Francois continues on here. Assess your trauma inputs. So what are those things that are traumatizing you? Make a list of them. And then you could use the chart that I often use there around that processing trauma. Learn strategies to ground yourself during trauma work. So with breathing, deep breathing, exercising, taking a breath, going outside, walking around, all of those things that bring you into the present. Consider joining supervision or peer support group. One of the things which Art has developed and the Gatehouse staff have developed over the years here is a peer support group. After every session, the supervisors and the volunteers and the staff get together and they support each other. How did it go? What are the things that worried you? Were there things that reminded you about yourself? What can we do? What's the support that we can provide? How do we keep going? Attend workshops and professional training regularly. So important to find out what's going on and to see other professionals that are in similar jobs. What are they doing? Sharing ideas. Consider working part-time if that's a type of job that you can do that. Exercise regularly. So keep our bodies healthy. Remember, if you're going to exercise, do that before 8 p.m. And dig where the ground is soft. So as Francois says, if you find you're bashing your head against a brick wall, all that's going to happen here is you're going to get a bloodied head and a big headache. So don't do it. Where is it soft? Is there a crack in the wall? Let's find it. Is there a place underneath where we can drink, where we can actually make some changes? Where is it that we can begin? So that all adds up to helping control the three neuropsychological parts of ourself. So remember, we looked at the amygdala, looked at the short-term hippocampus memory, we looked at the frontal lobes, cortex, and the thinking part of our brain. So when dealing with trauma and after, to minimize the risk of our emotional and physical well-being. So we're trying to balance our empathic engagement. We want to be decreasing our somatic empathy, or if you like, sympathy, and that is when our bodies are vibrating. So we're hearing a story and we start to react emotionally. So now it's about us rather than the person that we're trying to listen to. And hyperarousal, so that we're not agitated and get angry at the client or at the person that we're listening to. So we want to be able to regulate our autonomic nervous arousal system. We want to be able to catch ourselves when we're feeling these things and say, aha, I know what's going on here, okay? And start to deal with that rather than be reacting. Charles Figley, when he was first starting to look at compassion fatigue, he was a counselor doing PhD counseling in California. And what Charles found was that after he had been doing some counseling of Vietnam War veterans, he would supervise his PhD students, and he was a completely different person. Usually he was very supportive, but this time he was like a bear, he was a grouch, they couldn't do anything right. And his students said to him, you've been counseling those Vietnam War vets again, aren't you? He said, yes, you're right. And they said, you know, all the frustration that you feel, that they feel, all the anger, all the hard work that they're trying to do, that's rubbing off on you. You're taking that out on us. I said, oh, you're right, my goodness. So he was not regulating, not aware of his autonomic nervous system, and then began to look at that and say, what are these symptoms? What do they mean? How do we come to grips with them? What are the supports that we need? All of that is so that you can maintain clear thinking, so that you're not reacting, you're acting. So it's just a reminder of our trauma in the brain here and the three parts that we're trying to keep under control here. So we will, because we're hardwired, we see something that's traumatizing, our three F's come into play. Our short-term memory, hippocampus, remembers that, so we're ready for next time. But we want to be able to process it, to say, okay, that's not the same. Okay, I can deal with this. I know what this is. I can think a way through this. So we're regulating our ANS, and we can do that through awareness exercises. Thought field therapy is simply a little exercise to bring ourselves into the present. We could do that now. For those of you listening, just hold out your palm up and your wrist out. Take two fingers in your other hand and begin to tap your wrist and just count 12 times while you tap your wrist. So I'm going to tap my wrist. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that brings us right into the present. Whatever we're feeling, we may have been drawn into the past and trauma because we are tapping our hands, we are feeling, we're using our feeling, we're counting, we're using our oral senses in our brains, our sight, sound, and feel. We are using help bring us into the present. And our exercises around breathing can calm us down. We could squeeze a handball, all those things. So they all help regulate our autonomic nervous system. So we're looking here for empathy, not sympathy. So Charles Karkoff, very famous developer of humanistic counseling, came up with an exploration, understanding, and action model, AUA. And so we need to explore ourselves. We need to understand ourselves. We need to have an action path to get control of all of those things. So self-care planning would be good. So this is something that you could do. You won't be able to brainstorm in pairs, but you can certainly work on this individually. There's a 5-page template that Maria can send out to you. And you can create a self-care plan that addresses emotional, physical, intellectual, and spiritual needs, listing what those needs are in those 4 areas. There's a page for that. You can create a balanced daily work schedule. There's a page for that. And an off-work schedule. There's a page for that. It includes adequate sleep, nutrition, exercise, and relaxation. So you can parcel out your whole day. Say, what are you doing at particular times? What time do you wake up? What do you do to wake up? What do you do after you wake up? What do you do before breakfast? What do you have for breakfast? What do you do after breakfast? What do you do to get ready for work if we're on the work day? How do you prepare yourself to go to work mentally so when you arrive, you're at work? How do you set your schedule so that you're not overtaxing yourself? Can you prioritize it? When coffee break comes, you stop, you go for coffee. Is there a coffee room? Is there a place you can go? For lunch, can you get away from your office, away from your desk? Is there a lunchroom? Can you go outside and not eat at your desk? Afternoon coffee break or tea break. And then 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. when you're shutting down from work, how do you shut down? Can you make a list for what needs to be done tomorrow so you don't have to worry about it? Leave it on there so tomorrow morning it's there, you can start it again. And then the transition. How do you make sure that you can transition from work to home so that when you get home, your work is not in your brain still? So you can, and then detail how you can set up a support network to deal with workplace stress and compassion fatigue. And this could include a buddy, could include talking to your family. If you're in a place that has confidentiality clients, then of course you have to honor that. Can't use any names. Talking to peers, talking to your supervisor, talking to your mentor. Are there internal agency resources like EAP, extended health programs? Are there external resources that you can tap into? Healthcare providers. So all of those things you can look at and be creative. Just create those things that you think are going to be helping or that you're already doing. And then the goal is to try and stick to them. And that doesn't mean that your self-care plan won't change from time to time. It will, because you'll find other things that are stressors, and you'll find other things that are resiliency factors. It's great, help you keep going. But there's a template for a plan that you can use. Of course, I like to see that plan in agencies too, so that everybody has one. Workplace coping strategies. Okay, so your human resource policy lists wants to recognize appropriate or trauma-reduced workload. So if you are dealing with clients that are particularly traumatized, do you get time off for that? Or somebody say, we're transferring you to the low trauma department for a break? Is there a regular rotation amongst staff so that not everybody is working with the high trauma unit all the time? Leave work at the office and the encouragement from the office to do that. Setting boundaries with clients and staff. Some people have great time with buddies at work. They'll go out, they'll do things socially. That's fantastic. But is there another group also that isn't associated with work? It's completely different. Can you have your personal life separate from work? So once in a while you can talk about work, but there's all kinds of other things going on here. You may have family activities, things that the family wants you involved in. You may have social life, going out, all those things. Attend conference and skill building workshops. All of these things that allow professional development and sharing with colleagues so that you're learning, but you're also seeing other people are in the same group. They face the same kind of situations. Peer support groups. So this is where Gatehouse is particularly good, because I know that after sessions, you have a peer support group around debriefing and how everything went. There are a couple of other agencies in town that do that too. That's great. Not every agency does this. I'm always trying to encourage agencies to do that. Have a peer support group within the agency. Good supervision. So as some of you know, in the last 25 years, supervision has moved away from talking with your supervisor and discussing cases and the quality of care to numbers. How many people did you see this month? We got to see this number of people to keep our funding. Oh, you haven't seen enough people. But I want to spend extra time with Joe. I think Joe really needs some extra time. No. You got to keep your numbers up. You got to keep your numbers up. So all of those things have eroded good supervision. And we need a movement to say, hey, we need to bring back quality supervision. Mentoring. So mentoring somebody or somebody mentoring you. Counseling, building in a self-care plan into the organizational support policies. And then looking at profession and movement supports. So in the helping professions, is there recognition in that whole profession that self-care is extremely important? In the last 20 years, more and more of the helping professions are beginning to recognize this. Program departments and counseling departments are beginning to recognize this, but not all agencies are, and sometimes the finance department says, oh, if everybody started practicing self-care, our EA, our employee assistance program will go up and cost more. And we have to say, no, we're actually preventing burnout. We're increasing attendance, we're decreasing sick days. This is what keeps people working and happy. So we need those supports all across the profession. I belong to two groups in the Ontario Association of Social Workers. One is a virtual trauma group. The other is a virtual self-care group. The virtual trauma group has some good buzz. You know, somebody is working with a client in another part of Ontario and they're moving. They want to be able to make a confidential referral. You know, does anybody deal with these particular kinds of clients? And they want to hear back. And there's, you know, referrals back and forth. And somebody will say, hey, there's a good seminar coming up in Toronto. It's on trauma and on EMDR and rapid eye desensitization movement therapy and all those other different kinds of therapies. And people will buzz back and forth and say, thanks, great. The other group I belong to is a self-care group. It's completely silent. I'm the only person and one other person are regulars in that group. So I think, is everybody looking after themselves? Are they all in good shape? Or are they just too afraid to say? How can we create trust in that self-care group? How can we get together? How can we use a virtual group for self-care? So all those things need to be done. So just remember the professional self-care tips in that inventory also that I showed you a little bit further back. What are we doing for time here, Marie?
We're just 5 minutes over.
Okay, we're 5 minutes over.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're coming close to the end here. Specific to healthcare sites, and there's some good ideas here on how you can implement those things. But I like the one at the bottom, assisting staff to integrate self-care plans into regular supervision, goal setting, annual performance appraisals, assisting and addressing the need for expectation of countering compassion fatigue. Compassion fatigue is going to be an occupational hazard. How do we deal with it in our agency? It's going to be ongoing. We need to be always tackling it. And here's some good ideas in terms of what you can do also. And I love here building a support network for yourself, meeting regularly with other colleagues to share frustration, challenges, sessions, and tips, monthly lunchtime skill sharing sessions, meet for a regular happy hour at the local bar, maybe non-alcoholic bar too, or coffee shop, and a walk after work. You can do that with buddies. Have a balanced buddy relationship. So you've got a buddy you can talk to, and the buddy can talk to you. So one with a colleague and the other with a close friend. Spend time outdoors connecting. Can you take a brief walk twice a day? How regularly can you get out? Those are all from grassroots fundraising organizations. We got a checklist here and a good big drill down checklist of what you can look at. In-service training programs, complex care. We need boards to develop policies around this. All the things you can do around working and reducing stress, increasing resilience, insurance plans, typical contract staff, holidays. Two agency examples here, Excellent Canada and Senior Wives Awards for National Standard on Psychological Health and Safety in the Workplace. There's a website on this. You can get all kinds of checklists and organizational assessment. And then here is a way in which organizations can build resilience. And this comes from the National Child and Traumatic Stress Network. Remember, the most severe secondary trauma that we experience is when we see children that have been hurt. And beyond the agency, moving into the profession, as I said, building alliances. And an ongoing commitment here, how am I going to implement my self-care plan? And to the organizations, what's first steps am I going to take to improve compassion fatigue reduction across my agency? Then for the whole profession, what contacts am I going to make for the long term? We need to build movement. Many of you will be faced with that. Lots of resources here that you can contact in Toronto. Great. And groups, Toronto and around the world. Just the last forgotten, always forgotten resource here. The folks we are supposed to be benefiting. So they have been surviving trauma for years. And Kellen Gaku Telefat is one of my favorite saying. This is from the Aleutian whale hunters, the Aleutian Aleut. They've gone out in small boats for centuries, hunted big whales. One slap of the whale's tail, they're in the freezing cold Aleutian Sea. You've got 3 minutes to rescue your buddy or they're dead from hypothermia. Kellen Gaku Telefat, we are watching out for each other. Okay. So I think we can stop at that. So additional reading tips, great additional readings. How long do you hold the class? If it's a minute, doesn't weigh anything. If it's a year, your shoulder is going to be completely immobilized. Then the last thing, of course, vicarious trauma can produce vicarious resilience. So we've worked with people and we see them growing and we grow. So trauma and resilience, wounding and healing are not opposites. They're part of the same thing. It's our wounds that enable us to be compassionate with the wounds of others. It's our limitations that make us kind to the limitations of others. It's our loneliness that helps us to find other people or even to know they are alone with an illness. I think I have served people perfectly with parts of myself I used to be ashamed of. That's from Naomi Raymond. And you can find a vicarious resilience scale from Hernandez Wolf and Kyle Keelan. So I think we covered what we said we would. If there's anything missing, you can contact Maria. She'll be in touch with me. We can see what, if there's any follow-up that we need. And then I think I have attached a workshop evaluation and you can fill that out and send it to Maria. It'll all be in confidence. Okay, and some people are saying thank you. Great. Okay, so I think we have reached the end.
Thank you so much, Bill.
My pleasure. That's an awful lot in 1 hour.
A lot of information. People can certainly go back on our Facebook page. The live video stream will be there. And you can pause the video to see aspects of the slides that we kind of rushed through at the end because we are out of time. Stuart, if you want to say a few words and maybe just
Yeah, just exact same sentiments. Thank you, Bill. It's very insightful, and, and I think as health practitioners, I think a lot of people don't take the time to think about themselves because they're so entrenched in their work, and it's also a great reminder. So thank you.
My pleasure, folks, my pleasure. And important stuff. We need to do this, each of us.
Well, fantastic. And you know what? I'm trying to think of the last time I saw you was probably about 4 years ago.
Yeah, I think so. It would either be in a workshop that we did at Humber or here. We did a broadcast once on the
Yes,
on the
exactly.
Yeah.
It was an absolute pleasure having you back today. And actually, I'm looking forward to we can meet in person again.
Wonderful. Yeah, I look forward to that.
So I want to thank everybody who joined us today. And again, thank you, Bill Sparks, for joining us for today. And hopefully you'll join us tomorrow. We got lots more great stuff coming up. So I say goodbye and have a good evening, everybody. Thank you.